Good morning, guys. We're out here on the lake. This is a lake I've fished a couple times over the last few years. I've never fished it this early. I've usually fished it in late summer, mid to late summer. So this is new for me. So we'll see if we can put a pattern together this morning. I don't know the water temp yet. The air temp is cold. It was 37 degrees this morning, so it's still pretty cold, and it looks like it's going to be a bit windy today. So we'll see. The audio might be a little bit rough, but we'll do our best to find some fish and see what we can learn about the lake, learn about what they're doing here this time of year, and we'll go from there, guys. Stay tuned. I'm going to dig some rods out of the locker and get to fishing. Fishing it on the re-range, the Jackal re-range jerkbait. And he hit it once and missed, and felt a bunch of slack in the line, so I kept working it and got him on the second time. See if we can catch a couple more here. We've got I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. So we've gone all the way up to the north end of the lake. The wind is coming from the northwest. So I figured first thing in the morning, make the biggest run and just see if there's anything down at this end. It would make sense if they were. And this end of the lake is extremely deep. We went to, I don't know, 125, 130 feet of over 130 feet of water. And there's the steepest, sheer wall is just out and around the corner. So I would imagine that's where a good portion of fish are going to winter. So in my mind, I'm walking back through in my way into a spawning cove, and we hit a point coming in, a narrow pinch point, and the point comes out in a rock island, submergent, but a rock island right in front of the bay where so you've got the deep water, you follow it back, and there's a point, rock island, and now we're working. We didn't catch anything there, so we're working our way farther back into the spawning pocket, and there's a rocky shoreline, and there's a little teeny pocket right here. That's where we caught them, right in the mouth of that. And then if we go all the way up in there, that's where there's a larger pocket. So I don't know, we might work our way back in there and just see if more fish are farther back, or maybe they're somewhere in between here. So anyway, let's keep it going and see if we can catch a couple more. Good sign anyway. Every time you catch a fish, you're just trying to put all the pieces together. And one of the things, especially this time of year, I'm doing also, obviously where it was, how deep it was, but also how hard it hit and how much it's fighting. So if it's really active and it's fighting really, really hard, I know those fish can move pretty well, and they're active enough. I won't let the bait sit too long. I want them to come get it, and I want to cover some water. But if I found that they're super sluggish, then I will slow that bait down, maybe even more than I was when I was, when I caught it. Maybe that one just happened to be super close by the bait and came that little direction to get it. But if they're more active, they'll chase it farther. So I'm paying attention even when I catch one. Okay, how hard did he hit it? Did he run with it? Was he very active? As I was trying to reel him in, was he fighting really, really hard? These are just things to pay attention to when you catch a fish. That paying attention to the details, that one was really close to the bank. I mean, I casted that almost on the bank and just started working it back. And he hit, you know, not too far into me working it back, which means he had to be awful close to the bank. Just something, you know, to keep in mind, to pay attention to. And he feels, this fish feels fairly active as well, which is a good sign. I'd like him active. I want him to move and chase my bait. Decent little fish. A little better than the last one. All right. And if you notice, yeah, good looking fish, fat belly, healthy. Put it back in the water here. It was very close to where that last fish was. Again, it pays to make multiple casts to the same spot, and if we like it, we'll probably even go back into the pocket and cast back a little bit towards it, just to see if by changing directions we pick up another one. You know, that's not bad. Getting two right in the same spot in the same direction, but you know, maybe there's a group of them, and we'll just kind of keep working it for a little bit here. There's another one. That's the second, you know, third fish, same exact spot. He was out a little farther. Yeah, pay attention to the details. And I was moving that bait pretty well. I wasn't giving it too long just to sit around. All right. Healthy fish. A little smaller, but healthy, fat. For its size, just a fat fish. Oh, we seem to have found a little wad of them here. Look at that, beautiful. My spot lock. This is the old Trex trolling motor, and it is slick. I know a lot of companies now have something like this, some type of spot lock, or you know, an anchor, and it is fantastic. Just to be able to push it, we're sticking in the same spot. It is absolutely wonderful. It's, you know, kind of changes the way you fish, and I honestly can't imagine going back and having to stand there the whole time. And it is, you know, when you found a fish like this, you want to be able to make the same cast over and over again. And when I'm here dubbing around, taking the fish off, letting it go, maybe retying if I need to, boy, you drift a long ways with the wind that we've got today. You drift a long ways, and I'd be on top of those fish in no time because the wind's blowing right into them. And it just would not be helpful. You lose your, you know, great chance of catching more fish. So it really is terrific to have that spot left. I might pull myself back off this just a little bit so I'm not quite so close to this one. It happened too, and this might have been happening. We might have pulled the group of fish to us as we've been catching them, as we moved the bait to us. We noticed that third fish was, you know, halfway to the boat, where the other ones were There we go. That's a little better one. All right. There we go. Just went in a little farther in the pocket. You can see that okay. A little farther in the pocket and picked up this one. So interesting. Again, paying attention to the details. Interesting that we picked one up farther in the pocket. That was the largest one yet. Just kind of odd to me. I normally expect the bigger ones to be out farther and the smaller ones to be in a little closer. That's pretty typical, but just, you know, interesting, something to note. And don't quite know how it's going to fit all into the puzzle yet, but I'm sure we'll make sense of it eventually. Let's get another one. Just throw that on the scale just to see. It's, what would you say? Maybe at least 3.5? Let's see. Yeah, better than that. 4.07. I don't know, let's see. 4.07. All right. Nice. Well, guys, we're moving the right direction. They're getting bigger. Now, after something like that, I always check my line. Feels okay, but if there were any snags, anything in it, I just cut it off and retie right now. It seems okay. Okay, guys, picked up another one. It's been a little bit. We've covered a little bit of bank. We've gone into another pocket. I'm surprised, but we didn't pick one up in the pocket. But where we picked this one up does make sense. This is, you know, on the edge. You know, if we had gone around, this is a rock pile. It kind of creates a point going into this pocket and then back to here. So it does make sense. You know, it's just a stopping point. I think some hooks popped out of its mouth. Whatever happened, I felt it give. It feels like a decent fish, but I could be wrong. It might just be foul hooked. But I'm feeling hooks pop out, which isn't really a good thing. I've backed the drag off. Liked it. painful all at the same time. All right, fish, come on, come this way. Come this way. Come here. Oh, come on. Whew. All right. All right. Okay. There we go. That's a beauty. Oh, look at that. This fish has been caught before. Let's have a quick look at that. You see the corner of his mouth there? Okay, that's not at all like this side, which is nice and clean. And then you've got this side. So this fish is back again. Healthy. This one's close to 4 as well. We'll see in just a minute. Oh yeah, 4.32. So yeah, this is the best one yet. Love the fact that we're able to put them back. Let them get bigger. All right, good girl. There she goes. Yeah, that's special. That's fun. That's fun. And we have the lake, I would dare say, pretty much to ourselves. It is windy and nasty and cold and not a lot of boat traffic. So that's a plus. Let's see if there's another one there. You know, it's possible that in a place like this they'd be stacked up. So we're gonna fish it a little bit more. I've had a few people ask me about, you know, the gear I'm using, the rod, the reel, the line, you know, what I'm doing. So maybe after today, I'm not going to do it out here because it is so windy. I don't think you'd enjoy the video very much, but maybe I'll do a video back in the garage where it's calm and warm and you can hear me better. My friend that asked me brings up a good point. I'd want to know the exact same thing if I was watching something else or reading a book about what someone's doing. I'd really like to know what they're using and the why behind it. It helps, you know, I think the why is what's really critical for you guys. You know, you won't be probably fishing the exact same body of water that I am or exactly the same temperature, but the reason why, you know, behind what I'm doing gives you a good understanding so you can apply that somewhere else. So, all right, guys, picking up one more here. Got it pretty good. Ooh, good one. These are some beautiful fish. Just beautiful. Right, have a look at that one, guys. It's a little skinnier, but still very healthy looking. Still just a great looking fish. Beautiful. Let's put this one back. All right, what seems like it's happening right here, we haven't gone far from the last fish catch, about 30 yards, just up the bank, and there's a rock point that comes out where this boat is and ends not far out in front of us. and it makes a little bit of a rock point, and it's a little deeper on this side, and that fish was just real tight to the shore. The rock point comes out just on the inside of the rock point. We've made casts all the way around, and it was right in tight to the shore. So we'll make some more casts. Fish scale on my hook. Feels all right. The hooks feel okay. Almost casted right into a tree. Okay guys, we got a big fish here. We got a big one. Let's see if we can get it in the boat. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, guys. Check that fish out. Oh my word. Oh my word. Look at this fish. And look how he has that bait. Creature bait, snell knot. Put that bait right in the roof of that fish's mouth. Oh my goodness. Look at that thing. Look at that fish. Oh wow. And this fish has either been hit before, you know, something bit it, or maybe just cleaning the bed off, but that tail is a little messy. Here we go. I'm gonna weigh this thing. What a beautiful fish. Let's see if we can get that. 6.54. Right there. 6.54. Wow. What a delightful fish. Look at that big girl. All right. I'm going to take a quick picture of that and put her right back in the water before we get into trouble. I don't want to hurt her in any way. All right. That sun is bright. That is fantastic. That is really fantastic. All right. If I can gather myself up here after that, that's exciting. So here, this is maybe something just to talk about. We've got a kind of a do-nothing shoreline. There hasn't been anything. It's just, you know, weedy, sort of slight weed, mucky bottom. There's really nothing going on, and this is just the perfect scenario for this. It goes back into this pocket. You can see. We go back into this pocket. We got this dumpy building falling into the lake, and a tree that comes out into it. And we got another tree over here, but we got this tree coming right down into it. I cast it right up towards that tree, and just started gently dragging it and hopping it back, and I could feel something bumping it, just boom, 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 and then with my polarized glasses, the water's very clear. I could actually see a fish swimming out, and it looked like a decent one. I didn't know it was that big, but it looked like a decent one. And so I just let the bait sit, swirled on it. It looked like it sucked it in, so I reeled down. It was there and just hit her with it. And oh man, what a beautiful, beautiful fish! Special, very special to catch fish like that. And you know, they're just, I've said this before, but there just aren't that many giant fish that we get to catch in Maine. This is the perfect time of year to catch them. Pre-spawn, they're as big as they're going to be. They're healthy. They're just phenomenal. And they're moving up to the shallow. So this is the best time to catch your best fish. But it is awful special to get to catch big fish like this. And just, gosh, it was last Thursday. This is Tuesday. It was last Thursday that I caught the biggest fish I've ever caught. I just think it was 7.76. And then this one being 6.54. Just what an awesome, you know, treat to get to catch two big fish close together like that. So glad to celebrate that with you guys. I'm going to make some more flips in here, put a new bait on, make some more flips on here, and we'll check back in with you in a little bit. Thank you guys. Hey guys, I spent some time in this bay. We got another fish on the line, but I decided I'm about to head back down the lake some, but I thought I should go to the spot, you know, the first spot, and see if maybe some of these fish have replenished. So I've gone to the first spot, and sure enough, there's another fish, at least one here. We had quite a few, so it just makes sense to kind of check it before we make a big run like that. Sometimes they replenish, so it's something to pay attention to. Here we go. Okay. Beautiful. Look at that fish. Just beautiful, healthy fish. Yep. I'm gonna weigh that one real quickly too. Yeah, it might be 4 pounds. We'll see in just a minute. I don't know if it's quite 4. Yeah, I don't know. Same number, 3.79, so almost 4, but not quite. All right, let's put her back. All right, there she goes. All right there, guys. We are just about ready to pack it up here. We did a little better in the first half of the day than the second half. Not quite sure what shifted. I saw a lot of fish in the shallows just swimming around, but I had a hard time getting them to come in. I did catch a few, but I got a lot of short stripes and a lot that I just could not quite, you know, get them to bite. Grateful for the day we've had. We've learned quite a bit, and to catch that 6-pounder, that was just such a treat. And we've caught a lot of big fish today, and just had a lot of fun. Good to see some healthy fish here. Honestly, all of them looked real good. So it's awesome to see catch and release work. We had a few fish that we could tell were caught before, and boy, it's a real treat to get to catch them again. It pays to take care of them, and terrific to get to take you along. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, boy, I'm more than happy to try to answer them. I'll do my best, and we'll go from there. Again, I will do at another time. I will talk a little bit about the rods and the gear I'm using. A few people have asked, and I'm not ignoring it. But out here, it's a little windy, and it would probably be better to do that in the garage. But excited to share with you any knowledge I do have, and excited to learn together. Take care, guys. Welcome back, guys. Andrew with A-Team Adventures. As promised, just wanted to walk you through the rods, reels, baits that I was using today, and what really got it done. You know, I'll quickly go over the ones that, you know, I used, and I caught some fish on it or got some bites on them. But there were actually two that really got it done today for me. Number one was a jerkbait, specifically the Jackal Re-Range. This is the 110, and boy, that bait just, oh man. And I love this bait in general, but today it just performed for us. Hopefully you can see that. But Jackal Re-Range 110, what an awesome bait that is. And I was fishing this one. This is my second favorite jerkbait rod. It's a little more budget friendly. This is the Temple Fork Outfitters. It's the GTS Bass Series casting rod. It's a 6'9" medium. Plenty of backbone, but a lot of tip, so it's very gentle. So with a treble hook bait specifically, it's really important to have enough tip to work, you know, to work with those, excuse me, wow, to work with those fish, to play them. And so I do like this rod. It's the one that I've used for many, many years. I've now found a rod that I like even more, and I'll show you that in just a second here. But this one is a terrific rod. It's a little, it's not, you know, heavy, but it's not super light either. And that's probably the biggest thing that I'm getting to where I really, really like rods that are light in the hand. And then I've got it paired up with a Canaan reel. It's a 6.5 to 1. I prefer a 7 to 1, but it's not bad. You can work with this. And this is a super budget reel. I've had this reel for 7 years, and it just keeps working and working and working and working. So if you're looking for a kind of a budget combo for a jerkbait, this is hard to beat for me. I've used it for many, many years, and you can, you know, throw other baits on this same rod. It's a pretty versatile rod. If you're looking for, you know, I've thrown a spinner bait, I've even thrown a chatterbait. I've got other rods that I like better for all these, but if you're looking for a rod that can do a whole bunch of things, this is a pretty good rod, and it's a great value, and a little bit more budget friendly. So this really got it done today. The jerkbait rod that if I had just one, and only one jerkbait rod, and I had, you know, enough money to spend and get all of them the same, I really like the X-Pride. It's a 6'10" medium. Again, you're noticing a pattern. This one was a 6'9" medium. This is a 6'10" medium. It's a great size. You don't want a rod that's too long, because you've got to pop that rod tip down and point it back at the bait, because you're always working a jerk bait on a slack line. But you want something long enough yet that gives you a pretty good cast. And when you're dealing with sometimes a pretty light bait, you want a rod that can cast that, and then a rod that bows up pretty good to pin those fish. You want some tip to it to keep those fish pinned, because they will come up, especially the smallmouth, but they'll come up and shake. And boy, they can spit a bait pretty easily. You wouldn't think so. You've got 3 treble hooks on here. How is it possible for them to spit that? But they do. So a rod with enough tip and enough length is very helpful. And my strong preference is the Aldebaran reel. It's the HG, so it's a 7.4. Yeah, 7.4 to 1. Super light. You can fish this rod all day and not be fatigued. So that's my preference. But if you're looking for a little more budget-friendly rod, I mean, you can really feel the weight difference between, a really light reel and light rod to a heavier reel and heavier rod. But it does get the job done. It certainly did today. And maybe something to note, I tried multiple jerk baits today. And this re-range was the one that really got it done today. The other thing that was very helpful, it was super windy today, and this re-range has a little more weight, and it's got a terrific weight transfer system in it. It's actually a magnet, so the first time you go to use it, it kind of freaks you out. You're like, oh my goodness, am I breaking my bait? Because it'll click. The magnet sticks, but you make a cast and you hear a snap. And in the beginning, I mean, I'm convinced I'm destroying the bait, but it holds up well. The one caution I do have is always pull the weeds off. Don't try to slap it on the water to knock the weeds off. It'll break the magnet in there. Will break the bait, and you just lost $15. So don't do that. Always pull the weeds off by hand, but it casts really well in the wind. It's probably one of the better jerk baits I've used in the wind, and today was very windy, so it really helped having that re-range today. And then the second one that just totally got it done for me was the creature bait. And what I was using today is the Rage Structure Bug. I've got one out of the package here to show you. Boy, this bait, when it gets probably 50 degrees and above, I don't think you can beat this bait. It's got some great swimming action, but it's not enormous, but it's great. Got some great swimming action. These back legs kick, these arms kick, and it works really, really well. And I like this a lot. It's got enough meat in there that you can set a hook, but it's soft plastic. I mean, Strike King has really done a good job with their soft plastics, I feel, at least lately. And it's super soft plastic, so you can get a good hook set through it. You can stick your hook into it, but get a good hook set through it. And then this is something that's probably a little more important to me than some of you, but I really like a straight shank hook, and I really like to this isn't new news, but I really like a snell knot. So that comes through the eye of the hook. And what's so special about a snell knot is when you set the hook and this bait is in their mouth, and it certainly has been. I can see teeth marks all over this weight. So when you set the hook and the bait, they've got it all in their mouth. The bait, the hook, everything's in their mouth. You set the hook and the bait's gonna try to fly out of their mouth and pop their mouth open. But when it does, it drives that hook point right up every time. And so I really like a snell knot. That's very important to me. Some of you guys strongly differ with me, and I understand that. There are downsides to this snell knot, but I really like it. But one of the little downsides to me is that even here you can see, because when you're putting pressure on it, obviously it wants to kick up. You can even see now there's a little bit of a bend to it. What happens when you reel that bait back in is this, with all the bait, it wants to roll on you. So you've got all these, twists in your line when you get the bait back. Well, when using the structure bug, that doesn't happen, or if it happens, only very, very little, because it's got enough swimming action and it stabilizes the bait so it runs nice and straight and true. Where if it's a bait with no action at all, it tends to roll on me more. So even that little, it's the little things, but that really just works for me. And I just love that structure bug. It works really, really well and fairly reasonably priced too. So that was the two baits that really worked. And then I've got that paired up on an NRX. It's an 854 casting rod, obviously, jig worm rod. That is a 7-1 heavy rod. And I really like this one. Again, not a cheap combo. I've got it paired up with a Mentanium DC, and not a cheap combo, but if you're looking for just an unbelievable rod and reel combo, this is it. And I've got it paired up with that DC for a reason. I like this rod. If I'm in really, really heavy cover, I'm going to use like a 7.6 heavy, but when I'm in reasonable cover, little treetops, skipping under docks, this is the deal right here. You can feel everything. It's super light, and it's long enough to get a good hook set, but it's short enough that you can make a real good roll cast, and skip that bait up under docks. You can be super accurate with it and get the fish back out. You know, those two things are very, very important. It's short enough to be accurate, and it's got enough tip to make a real good roll cast and skip that bait, but it's also got plenty of backbone in here to set the hook, get good hook penetration, and pull those fish back out. You can handle them. So I really like this setup. And then the DC part, I really like, because when I'm skipping that bait, boy, it's easy to get a backlash. If you mess up in the little teeniest bit, you're gonna get a massive backlash, and you can still backlash with these DC reels if you're skilled like me. But it helps just a little bit when you're skipping that bait. You know, gives you just a little extra insurance policy that you don't have a massive eagle's nest on your hands. And so I really like that combo. And then just a little bit about what we learned today. We found those fish early on going back into the pockets, right on the edges, the points kind of going right into those little spawning pockets. We found the fish, you know, out a little bit. And then as the day progressed, we found the fish had moved all the way to the backs of those spawning pockets. And as the day progressed, you could follow it back. They were on the points, and then they just kept moving back, and they moved in, but in deeper water. You'd find them in treetops in deeper water in towards the back of the pocket. And then by the end of the day, they were all the way up in the shallows, in the very backs of those pockets. And just... you know, it's always good to try to review the day in your mind. What could I have done different? What could I have done better? Sometimes the answer is nothing. I'm super happy with what I did. And this is one of those days that I'm really pleased with the day. We did just terrific to catch that big fish. I think it was 6.54. What a gorgeous fish, just phenomenal. And we caught quite a few fours. I think we ended the day with, it was just over 22 pounds with our 5 biggest fish, which I'm not going to complain about that. So I'm not upset in the least. If I had wanted to catch a few more fish, you probably in the later in the day, the fish moved up all the way into the shallows and the very backs of the pockets, and they were a little skittish. So if I wanted to catch a few more fish, I don't know that I would have caught any bigger ones. But I probably would have gone with like a weightless worm, like a Senko or something a little more finessey. Would have probably gotten a few extra bites. Again, I wasn't really worried about that. If anything, I'm looking for bigger fish, so I wasn't really looking to downsize because I caught a lot of fish and some good ones already. So if anything, if I only caught one more fish the whole day and it was a good one, perfect. If I didn't, I was okay with it. But what I found, to even catch the fish that we caught in the afternoon, you had to make really, really long casts. It was very clear water, and they were a little spooky. So you had to make a really long cast to get those fish. And then with the creature bait, you had to present it very gently. You couldn't, you know, let it hit like a rock in the water. You had to just gently set it in place, or those fish would spook. They were in just a foot or two of water, and very clear water. So it had to be very subtle. And the other thing that you could do, what I found I caught them pretty well doing, is making a skip, you know, skipping it all the way, a long skip way up under a tree or a dock, and you just let it sit, and then you gently pick it up. And I would, you know, usually at that point the fish were already on it. If not, I drag it out, hop it over a limb and let it sit. And then again, sometimes you just go boom, and you just see your line running away with it, and you wind down and you get them. But they were a little finicky, but that we did keep catching them. But if I was trying to just go after bites, I would have probably gone a little more finessey. The wind made it a little difficult, but it would have been possible in some of the pockets to go with like a weightless worm. So just walking you through that, guys. If depending on what you were going for, you know, there would have probably been a couple of different ways to go about it. Really glad to take you along. Really glad. It was just a terrific day on the water. It was cold. There was some mountains, you know, in the background, and there was actually snow on the mountains. But just a wonderful day on the water. Don't be afraid to get out there. We were the only boat on the water today. The only one. We had the whole lake to ourselves. So the springtime, you know, is just a terrific time to catch fish. They're as big as they're going to be. You can catch some big ones this time of year. So don't be afraid to get out there, brave the cold, and make it happen. Until next time, it's terrific to get to fish with you guys.